or Sunday rather, 7:04, something like that. At the moment.
Tomorrow we have slichas, so it'll be later.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll be here.
Right.
Yeah, I woke up at 5:30 the old time. Found out it was 4:30. Okay, so we're going to go to the page where we have the Ana Bakoach. And because that's the way, the order that I did this in, I don't know. So he says, do you see that, Ray? It's on page Kof Gimel. You have it. Okay. Yikavin lahamshich shisha shemos the mob. So he says these are 6 names of mob. Ha'elu mevok devok. So you have to explain what vok devok means. The Yitzira, it comes from the vok of Yitzira. Behind what is vok devok? B'yom rishon mevok the chesed. So that's the other vok. The vok is chesed gevor teferes netzach yisod, which is a part of the parts of it, which is vok, I guess. Mevok the chesed. So he said, Yom Sheni mivok the Gevura, Yom Gimel mivok the Teferes, Yom Daled mivok the Netzach. So in other words, every vok has its own a specific set of spheros. Yom He mivok the Hod, Yom Hashishi mivok the Yisod, Yom Shabbos Kodesh mivok the Nekudas HaMalchus Atzma. He calls it the Kudas of Malchus. The Kitzonius Chabad. So where does it go? Where is this going? It's going to the Kitzonius of the Chabad, the Penimius Chagat the Sia. It goes to the, so you're going into a Sia, you're going to try to bring it into the top of the Sia, the Chabad, of the aspect of this, which is the Penimius of it. Lahalosa, Lahalvish, to bring that Penimius up. So we learned in another place that the Kitzonius stays where it is, and the Penimius goes up, covers the parts that are, I guess, the nine or the lowest part, some element of the Malchus of the upper part, and then becomes a Kitzonius, and it's just like a leapfrog type of deal. So he says, Lahalosa lahalbish Penimius v'Chitzonius, to clover the Penimius on with the Chitzonius and the Chitzonius of Malchus, the Sphera Hasholetis B'Yom. So we're talking about today. Today is Chesed, the day of Chesed. So he said Mechesed the Yitzira. So from the Chesed of the Yitzira, he has these 3 sets of letters here. There's 6 letters divided into 3. So mechesed the Yitzira, lechesed v'netzach, the chochma, the siya, to the, where is it going? Going for the chesed of Yitzira upwards. The chesed v'netzach, no, lo netzach v'netzach, the chochma, the siya. So it moves up to the bottom part, which is the chesed and the netzach of the chochma, the siya. Okay, so that's where it's going. And then we have the 3 letters. Now, I saw there that there was a star, and I looked at the star down below, and it indicated that there's a hakdama in the back of the sefer, which I see also that there are hakdamas for other things as well. So anyway, he says, so here are the combinations of these letters. So then it says, you take the first, Ana, when you say the first word, it has to do with the Penimius. And that is, I don't know, what is the power to reach the Penimius? I'm not sure, but he says, Bakoach, and then the word Bakoach refers to the Makif. Now, the Penimi, just looking at, let's go to the one in the middle, B'shtayim, then it says like this, B'shtayim, using this formula here, B'shtayim yachatz panav, you cover his face. So he says the Rosh Tevus of that is Gematria 92, Tzav. So what do we get out of that? So Sag, he says you take Sag, and then the Yud letters, and the Milui of Ma comes to Sag. Is that right? Tzav. The Milui of Ma is 19. He's going to go over that in the Hakdam in the back. On the right side where he says the Penimi, I'm not sure what you call this. I guess it's Oros. It's the Oros of the mob are these three. One is sag, the next one is three sags and a ma. So one is the sag plus the 10 letters, that's what he described, and then the number 19, that is the milui of ma. Now how they come up with this or what it's supposed to be, it's some kind of, you have to go through this in a great detail. How is it possible that that's how it works? Now the makif is a sag, then the 10 letters, and then once again it's ma. Okay, this is just the form of it, and so we'll look at it some more. Let's look at the next one. He says that what happens is b'shtaim yechasav panav, and then the chasas, and he says the purpose of this, I guess, is to cover over the hachan, the chochma, that is the right line of chochma, the chesed, v'netzach, the chochma, which is part of the partzuf. There's apparently a combined partzuf of chesed, netzach, a chochma. So the Rashash, he does this. So he looks into it so deeply, and he says that this is the part you have to look deeply into seeing exactly where the connection is. Then it comes to the word gedulas, that's the or panimi, and yeminichal, that's the or makif. Then it says v'shtayim b'chasa raglov. He says then this other thing about covering the feet. So the reason why I'm getting you into looking at this is because it doesn't, this just as it's presented doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, what do you need to cover your feet for? That's what he says. So I want to look at the Hakdama, and the Hakdama really helps. So he says, Gedulas Yeminecha Panimi. So that's the Panimi. And then the Makif is, Gedulas is Panimi, and the Makif, that word itself corresponds to the Makif. So we're talking about Oros here. Then it says, he says he's going to look at Rosh Tevos here, Uvishtaim Yechazel Raglov. You look at it, and you see that it's actually a Rayo. It's 216. So his Rosh Tevos Gematria Rayo, he says. Gematria Sag, and what is it? Once again, it's a Gematria of Sag, and the Gematria of Ma, a Kamisbar Chok. It comes to the Gematria of a 108. You take 108 and you multiply it by 2, you get Rayo again. Now, I'm just reading it. It doesn't. I don't know why how it is that the Rashash knows or be able to tell us that in fact is the formula. That is which has this power to be able to elevate. So I'm not. So now we look at the Panimi. What's under the Panimi? So you have a Sag. And then you have Ma, that's what he said. On the other side of the Makif, you have Sag, and you have Ma, again. So that's the pattern. So he says, the purpose of this, we say in Gedulas Yeminacha, is for the purpose of the Kasos Hachan, the Netzach, is to cover over that right line of Netzach, the chesed, the netzach of the chesed it's the netzach of a chesed which would have a complete partzuf, and that complete partzuf is also part of the netzach itself, the chochma of what? Of chochma. So chochma is 10 spheres. All of these 10 spheres, all these partzufim, that's what's going on there. Now, why do we need to know that? I mean, what did it actually do? But he says this is what to do. So let's see how we're doing time-wise. 7:16. Oh, we have a lot of time. So he says, Tatir Tzarura. Tatir is the word that reflects the ability to pull, I guess, the Panimi. And then Tzarura is able to pull up the Makif. I'm not sure, or it's the shining of them. I'm not sure which is which. So he says, when you say these two words, though, of V'shtayim, with these two words, Ya'ofef, you're actually able to fly. What are we talking about? We're talking about, in our subject, is about going to sleep at night. And that you were saying this, and this has the ability to be able to move that aspect of yourself, I don't know, of your nefesh, of your neshama, up. Something like that. So he says these letters Ya'o. Now I'm just trying to figure out where I saw this. I don't know, but Yud Ayin Vav is 86. Gematria Elokim. Pei So he said, so he says Elokim. I think it was. I thought it was going to be two. Ima kolel is kasas. So he says what? He says that if you take this, what's the pay? Oh, your ofeif. Oh, I see what he did. Okay, now I can see it. He took the yud, aleph, and the vav of the word Ye'ofev, and he says Yo is a gematria Elokim. So the first part represents 86. And then you have Faf. Faf is what? 180. Faf, Ima Kolel, you get to the number Kasa, 161. Now, I don't understand that. It's beyond my ability to understand what's going on in Casa, what it actually does, but that's what it's doing, and this has the ability to actually pull you up. And he shows us like this, and he shows us as an Elokim, and then he shows you how you take the word Ye'ofef, and I guess you make it into Casa. There it is. So he says the purpose of this, let me see if I'm still on target here. He says, La'ofef b'chachan de chesed, to fly into the chachan of chesed. So the right line of the parts of kol chesed. What chesed are we talking about? We're talking about the chesed, the netzach, of the parts of another. It's a parts of inside of another parts of, which is called the chesed v'netzach. Don't ask me how you got that. The chochmah. So he says you have to reach into that. The ofeif, in order to be able to take these combinations, which is a 161, b'chachan de chesed, take the right side of chesed, that part of the chesed, which is part of parts of called netzach, and that netzach is the netzach of chochmah. That's the pattern that you have to have in mind in order to be able to reach this. Wow. V'la'alos kol klaus chachan, and what this does, it has the ability to be able to bring up all of the kolel, all of chachan, the chesed v'netzach, of both chesed and netzach. Okay, I think okay, that's all right, the chesed v'netzach. The halvish, and then what's going to happen as a result of that? The halvish chacham the chabad. Of chabad, the malchus, you reached up now to the malchus of Yetzirah. So I don't know what the shin means down below. So Shabbat, and he said because in that place, I guess maybe this is what it means. I'll read it again. The halvish hachan the chabad, to get it up to the next parsha, which is the malchus of Yetzirah. Shabbat os shin. The O Shin in the Malchus, the Yetzirah, that's where the Shin is concerned. So, I don't have too much done on it's kind of on the sefer that's Niyuta, so I thought I would just keep going with this if it's okay with you. I only have one page that I could do, but the questions that I always have is how he arrives at these different drawings and, what they're supposed to mean. Let me get something to drink here. So what we're trying to understand is what's going on in this Hakdama. So that's the part we're going to do today. And to do the first page, I didn't really look at the second page. I ran out of steam. So it says, Hakdama's Ana Bakoach. So let me clean my glasses. It's a bit dirty the whole time here. Okay. It says, V'hine inyan shem mab, huzeh, hine noida, ki kol olam upartzav alyon, hu makor v'shorish shalamata memenu, kenoda, ki b'malchus the Yetzirah. So he starts to go through these examples now. Nespashto asara anofim, 10 branches, miyud sefiras the Yetzirah, v'hem shroshin the yud sefiras the Asiyah. V'hem b'malchus the Bria, nespashto asara anofim, yud sefiras the Bria. V'hem Shrashim the Yud Spheres the Yitzira. V'chein b'malchus d'Atzilus, also in the malchus d'Atzilus, this pashto asara anfe miyud Spheres d'Atzilus. V'chein shorish Yud Spheres d'Bria. So you see how the shorish system goes. There's like tied together in this way. But the malchus d'Rakudim, but he includes, now he goes deeper. He says, let's talk about the malchus d'Rakudim. This pashto anfe Yud Spheres d'Rakudim. V'chein shorish Yud Spheres d'Atzilus. So this is like a little bit of a question that always was how this goes, and so now he says like this. This is the way all olamos work. Until you go all the way up the ladder, inside, till you get to the Yud Spheres Da'ak, which are the Shorish to Shehem Shorish Makar, the call olamos. And they're rooted in its yechida, its highest possible place, I guess. But this is generally speaking. But the same thing, if you go into details, is what the Rashash does, is that he looks into partsufim inside of partsufim. Why not? So he said because it's there. Pratos misvira l'charbita v'hine teva ha'or ha'elyon hefzer v'cheshko. So this where it gets a little bit. I want to go just a little bit slower. Let's read again. He says v'hine teva ha'or ha'elyon hefzer v'cheshko v'ta'avaso la'alchos l'mekoro. So everything wants to yichud, wants to get higher or reach that ultimate. V'shorsho v'lihikala v'lihidabek sham shalcheves kashur, like the flame that's on a coal b'gecheles. V'im kocha ya'asa, so it's like yizbata mechus tikuna. But if it happens like this, now this is a little bit hard to understand. This he says what happens is you're nullifying the reality of the tikkun that it represents. Does he mean to say that it no longer serves the function because it's now wedded to something beyond its level? The fichoch som hamatzel l'kol b'chinas yira. He put in every aspect a concept of yira penimis. Now we have to think about ourselves a little bit here. Shelo ya'alach ba'or haku. So translation again, he says, we're going to see in a few minutes, or just right away, he said that Yira is the Gematria 216. So he said, so Sam Hamatzel Lakal Bechinas Yira Penimis, there's an interior Yira, Shelo Ya'ala Ha'or, that the light should not go up, Haku, and that this penimia should not go higher than what is fit for it to go to. But also there's a yira on the chitzonis. And then he has this word v'chak, which is the gematria of 108. He said so he said chak, but he says chak means like a law, like this is the law. B'gavul, and a boundary. Shelo yarda the mata v'yatzel yosem b'dregosas. That maybe means that the light, as it's coming back down, it shouldn't go too far down. It should go to the place it's supposed to go to, its address, or something like that. So he said, v'hine yira zu hu shem mab. This yira is actually the name of mab. Shehuba bechinas gevura, when it's in a gevura state, and it has the gematria 216. So we know that Rayo is a gevura. It's supposed to, I might think, what do I know about Rayo? not enough. So we know some things about it. It's 372, so it has all the different corpus, but he says that the mob actually has this yira in it, and this yira is a Rayo. V'shem zehu ha'oches So what happens? What happens with this rayo? Now rayo is a gavur, right? So gavur. So he says it holds. That's what a gavur does. And ma'akev, and it does that too. Lo or ha'elyon shelo ya'ala yosem haroelo. Okay, so it's something that has to. So that the light, when we want to be Davik Hashem. We learned this because it gets versus the vague takers. But you're not allowed, or there's a yira in there, a real fear that you can't go. You should not. That holds you back, and that's a raya. Ooh, is a low. Shalo yared yoser megavulo. So it should. This. Excuse me. He also went the same way. This is that the light is coming down. It shouldn't go down below the address that it's headed to. B'shem zera b'chu b'yitzira. So this name that we're talking about now is in Yitzira. Ritzon loba b'chagat. Now here we go. So he says, what's that mean? He said, when you say Yitzira and you're thinking of all of the spheros, then you would see that Yitzira is actually represent the kolel of the spheros of the chagat part. Sheheba b'chinas kelim emseim, which is the middle part. Sheheba parts of emsoi, which is the middle part. The zer anpin, the zion tachtonos, the kol b'china, and in its part, let me see, Gimel, I lost this place. Who parts of emsoi, the zion tachtonos, the kol b'china, so and then every aspect that you would look at, this would be there. So it's what holds it back from going up to the higher level. There is a yira there, this 216, that keeps the Chagat as a Chagat. I think that's what he means. For Alkain. So when you think about that, they could see how it is it could reach up through its panemius to become a chitzonius on the on the parts of above in some way. So therefore it's called the hand. So that's the secret of why he says with these two, you cover your face. And so he says, so the Chagat, you're going to cover the Chagat. Nikra Yadayim Shehem Chagat V'chem Yesh Bo Gimel Pamim Yad. So you see there's a rise. So that's what we said, the 3 yads. We've seen that before. It was a 42. So he says, V'gam came Yesh Bo Gimel Pamim Yad, which shows you that it's also 42. They're the hands. Represent what? They represent the Chagat, and the 42. Let's see how it's said. V'hu mischalek l'zayin shemos l'umas zayim hatachtonos Chagat nehem. So it's divided into 7 names. Kol shem mishesh osius. Every name has 6 letters in it. B'sfira achas, in any particular sfira, for we're working with Ana Bakoach today because that's what it is. B'sfira achas v'kol shem kalu mekulam, and every name has within it all of them. Now that we saw in the TIV Hakavanot, he talked about that. So he said, what is he saying? He's saying when you say Ana Bakoach like that, you're actually saying all of the other 7. That's the same thing about Chesed, the nature of Chesed, that it contains. I mean, is that what he's saying? It contains all the rest of them. So he says, "V'chol shem kalum kulam v'yesh bo pratos kulam," and the details of all of them, neged pratos shevatachtonos shebesfira hahus, corresponding. Let me see if I lost my place. V'yesh bo pratos kulam. I have the details of all the rest of them. Neged pratos shevatachtonos shebesfira hahi. Because once again, of looking at it, it gets divided up. How much more time do I have? Let's see. We'll do one more. We'll go by paragraph. So we see that there is a gavul system, which has to. I don't know why it has to be covered up, or what that means. I'm not sure I understand that. So of all the shame amav, so let's talk about that. Zena amber b'shtei yechat b'shtayim yechatz upon it. Now you take these 2 names, and that allows for the covering of the face. That's why it says v'shtayim yechatz raglav, v'shtayim yofef. So we went through that a little bit, not a little bit. I mean, it's fantastic. What's on the lo b'shtei osis rishon l'shabakol shem yechatz upon it. What's the face? It's the Chabad. The kol sviri. It's the Chabad the infinite Chabad, let's say, so to speak. It's just like it goes on and on. Os Aleph L'chasa or Panimi, for Os Beis L'chasa, the second letter, which what it would be, L'chasos or Hamakif, Shelo La'alos L'shorsho. And what's the reason why you want to cover them up? And this is the answer, is that they should not go out. Makif Shelo La'alos L'shorsho. Maybe I made it too dramatic there. Let me see. He says, Beis Yechasa or Hamakif, Shelo La'alos L'shorsho, so that you could keep it from going to its ultimate destiny. So where it really wants to go, where your goal, you can't get to your goal. Now, I would say that I'm not an expert at what we're reading here, so I would say that what is this, is that the desire is always there. That's what he set up at the top. The desire to reach the ultimate, just like in Olam HaKudim, where everything wants to go back to its shorish. Over here, there is a block, and so it makes you constantly desire. You keep wanting to. So let's see how it was. Oveshtei osius shnius shebekol shem yechasa raglav cover sviv shehem penimi umakav denai to call sphera shlo yispashet v'yored lamata, so that this chagat should not go down below lamata memedregasa. This is saying the same idea, going the same way. Oveshtei osius achronos, now the sefer ofef. This just means he should fly. B'penimi or makif, he taking the penimi, these oros. Now again, confused. What oros he talking about? My oros? He's talking about my neshama. What's he talking about? Yeofe penimi or makif b'chagat, the call sphera la'alos be'ez aliyos ha'olomos, to go up at the time when the olomos are going up. The makom hatzarach lo, that should go to the proper place for it. V'lo yoser, and not more than that. It's like you can never get there, but you could desire, you need to get there, because that's the shorish of you, I would think. That's my thought. Ki beis osius rishonos ochsim uma'akvim lo shelo lis'alos yoser. They'll keep you from going up higher. So we have still time. I could finish this page. That's all I have. We'll look briefly at the, if we can, at the sefer. Sivakol zecha b'chu al yedecha b'shemas aroma zecha b'pasuk zeh ba'ofen zeh b'shtayim yakased pana Rosh Tevos gematria, go back to something different. Also tzav. Now we saw that when we looked at the drawing itself. So he says Rosh Tevos gematria tzav K'misbar sag ve'eser osios. We saw that. I had read this previously. We saw that previously. V'yud tes letters of the Miloi, the 19. Dema l'chasos or panimi, to cover up the or panimi. The tzav base, and the second one 92. What is it? Tzav base. He said another one of them, base, kumohu lachasos or makif, to cover that up. V'shtayim yechasav raglav, and two more, you cover the feet. Gematria base pamim chok, which is 216, surprising again. Every place he says that you see these combinations, how it's going, it's telling you that there are breaks. BREAKs, or what is it, right? BRAKEs. There are breaks at the different division marks. They keep you from going farther, and the break is also called by the name Yira. So he says, so are we done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or Makif. We call 108, every time you see that is Misbar of Sag and Ma, which is, I think, what was it, Sag and Ma? Okay, so Sag, Ma, the mixture of Sag with 10 letters and the 19, that's what it is. V'shtayim Ya'ofef. Now he says, you take the same which we saw, Teva Ya'ofef, divide it up. Nech Lechas is divided up into Yud Ayin Vav, which is 86, which is the Mispar of Elokim. The Tzorach HaPanimi for the places of to cover up, I guess, the Panimi, or to fly it. Beis Pa'amim Mispar Ekia, the Yudin, the Tzorach HaMakif. So that's where they go. One more short paragraph. We have one more short paragraph. So he says it's known like this. I said it. Did I say that right? Yeah. Say that the order of the control that come from up above, B'Sheves Yemei HaShavua, over the influence. Let's say he has this word mamshalas, so it means the dominion of that particular of the mamshalas elyon b'Sheves Yemei HaShavua. He becall Yom Sholetes Omoshalas Sphira Echad Mizayim Sphiras Atachtonis the Klalos of the Pratos. Becall Olomos of his Lavshusim Zecha Bezeh Lachashpia V'Lanchagas Olomos. One more reading for me because I'm starting to flash into a different idea. Echad Mizayim Sphiros, he says Atachtonis so every one of the Zat is going to have a specific control of that particular day. The Pratos B'Kol Olomos, B'Hislav Shushim, B'Zecha B'Zeh, B'Chashpiyat L'Han Olomos. Now, it's something that I read in Yaakov Cronenberg. I just wanted to say this. It just came into my mind. He said that of all of the days of the week, you had Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Nezahod, Yesod. The worst day of the week is Shabbos. For Chatzlocha in this world, that everything goes bad on Shabbos. So Hashem said to Adam Arishon, don't work this day. He didn't say it like that. He says, this is a day for family. This is a day to learn, to commune with me. He said, because stay away from all of that work that we were doing. I mean, so we see that we're over here in this beautiful, beautiful situation, and you see the Gentiles running around, or the Gentilized Jews running around like that. Let's look at the last paragraph. I think that's all I got in strength today. And tomorrow I hope to be able to make some work on the sefer the Tzniuta. Gam noda ki Pirush klalos inin chitzonis penimius hana. So we know that every aspect has a penimius and a chitzonius hanas. Bekol makom hu ki beis partzufi nai v'chagat. Okay, nai would be outside of the chagat, which also known as iver v'yanika. Shehem Nefesh V'Ruach, also known by those names, Shal Osa HaOlam, of that particular Olam. We're talking about the Chagat 9. Partzuf, or that's also in every Partzuf, there's a Partzuf called Chagat 9 too, or Chagat, and then there's a 9. HaSphira, or we could talk about the Sphira, could be broken down. There's a Chagat 9 in each every individual one. Nikra Chitzonius Be'erik Gimel Partzufi HaPanimi. So I think he's talking about the 9 here. Let me see if I lost track. So he says, let's read again. Nikra Chitzonius, in relationship to the Gimel Partzuf and Eponimium, which are the Chabad, the godless, Shehem Neshama Chaya Yechida, those are the highest levels, so Shalo, Shenikroim Penimius Ba'archa, which is called Penimius in relationship to it. So in other words, in every parts of every sphere, that's what he said, every detail that you could possibly go into, and he could go there infinitesimally one, there's a panemius here. So he says, Chaya Yechida, which would be considered in that particular level to be the Neshama Chaya Yechida, the higher level. Shalo, Shenekroim panemius, that's Iver Ba'arko. But Noideki panemius Tachtoin, Arko be'erech hitzonius elyon. So you have all as the penimius of the tachton is really related to the chitzonius of the elyon, because it clings on to the chitzonius of the elyon, which makes this, we saw in other places, it makes the elyon a penimius. This is the leapfrog effect of going up. Mimenu. Okay, that's all I have today. We had a lot of parties over the weekend, and for celebrating my granddaughter's marriage. This is Baruch Fleischman. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kola.